This is the Board of Health meeting for the City of Gardner. It's August 19th, 2024. We're in the Mayor's Conference Room, and it is 4:32 for the start of the meeting. The meeting is called to order. Is there anyone who's going to record this meeting, video or audio recording, open session of the meeting? If you could just let us know. There's an announcement on there. Okay. All right, meeting called to order. Review and approve minutes from July 22nd, 2024. We do have an updated agenda. Their agenda was there was a mistake with the minutes from August 19th instead of July 22nd, 2024. So it is updated. Do I have a motion on these minutes?
A motion to approve the minutes for July 22nd.
Second.
Okay, any discussion? I do have a few things that I wanted to bring up. I know we had talked about the minutes before. I guess my feeling is the minutes should be very objective and factual. It's not the we this, we that. And in looking at, I know we were going to probably look at even the agenda, like if there was certain categories that are ongoing, maybe they could just be like a template of them instead of just all lumped together.
Okay.
And then it would just be factual, statements instead of like for housing and nuisance. That might be one category that if there's an ongoing, if it was resolved from last month, then there's no need to carry it over. But things like the 827 Green Street, that's carrying over, or maybe the sludge, that would be a separate category under old business. And even with the minutes themselves, instead of like we currently, or we have, take the we out of it, and it's just my thing, teaching and reading papers, it's like no personal pronouns, like just factuals, like the health department, or, it should be, that's my feeling about it. I don't know if we have any discussion about it or feelings.
Yeah, I've seen minutes where it's actually like not a graph, but it's like what I'm trying to say, it's got columns, and you sort of have the topic and then the issue, and then on the last column is like action items, like what's going to happen, and then you can have an update each time.
But I'm confused. You guys talking about agendas or
No, I'm
minutes?
talking about the minutes themselves, with it being, instead of like, there's so many we's in there, that it just be documented as the facts of what was presented out of the recording or the video, instead of, we did this, we did that. It's really, it's just to depersonalize it and take the personal pronouns out, and it just be in the facts of the Board of Health. I don't know how the other minutes were done at your other place, but...
Yeah, it was more simple. I don't think we're misrepresenting facts.
Oh, no, I don't think so either. I just think it would read more factual.
And that was an extremely long meeting.
It was, and so it was. I guess there's so many we's in it that the way Brandy, if she transcribes it as just the facts that you're stating.
Well, I guess the only concern I have with we is if it's not clear whether we're talking about the City of Gardner or the Board of Health.
Right.
I think, there's a paragraph here, we're currently still in the lowest category. I think that's pretty obvious. We're just talking about the city. But yeah, I think that might be a step in the right direction.
Yeah. It might just be a little clearer, like the City of Gardner is in a low, or the health, and then, health department report, it's the health department. I just think it would just depersonalize it.
Do we want to document a whole discussion? Like if someone said this and someone else said that, or do we want to just have like a topic?
There is a transcript, and then all the videos are posted online.
Right.
So we can
that's
refer
kind
back
of
to
the
that
realm
if we need to.
of that.
So maybe that would be the better place to keep that information and then try to keep
In
this.
the past, we've normally just summarized what, if
Right.
somebody asked a question about this, there was a discussion about that with the board or whatever. There should be some substantive
Right, right.
information
Oh,
about the
definitely.
discussion, but I don't think we need to have like a dialogue in the
Of
minutes.
everything.
Yeah.
And it was a long meeting, and there was a lot of information, without a doubt. And I'm not saying that anything's misrepresented at all in any way. I'm just thinking it just reads a little better if it was just like a summary, the factual summary without like, yeah, like if it's, we would be the health department or we would be the city. That's my feeling about it, but
I can also see if Brandy can sit in on some meetings.
Yeah.
Just maybe that'll help with the minutes.
and like you said, the transcript is there, and the video portion of the meeting is listed on the website like in the next day or so.
And it's transcribed from the video, so the transcript is actually, it's a little hard to read and follow, because
Mhm.
there's like, it's not getting all the right grammar
Right.
and words in
Right,
there and
right,
stuff
right.
like that, so.
I just, you know,
We will work on it for sure.
I mean, the minutes are fine. I don't have any problems with them. Didn't see anything that was wrong or misrepresented, and seemed to capture everything. I just thought it would, in looking at future minutes, it would be easier to just summarize the topics. Maybe we probably will talk about agenda and topics after, but that's just my feeling about it.
So if we have like a discussion on something, you can say there was a discussion on this, but then not even have any details as far as what the discussion was.
Well, I think, okay, I'm gonna I'll use an example of 827 Green Street was discussed, and that paragraph, I think, summarizes things pretty good without, it's some of the stuff, maybe step by step, doesn't have to be in there, but pretty much everything else in there is a summary of that discussion. That's an ongoing discussion now, but it just pertinent to the minutes. I think that would be fine.
I think there has to be a middle ground there.
Yeah.
I don't think you want to just say that somebody asked a question and it was discussed either. There has to be something substantive in there about.
Right. But if you can organize it with this kind of template, you can see what the action item or next step is without having to read through all of the information. Like here, like in the middle is like what was done, and then on the right is like the action items and deadlines
Decisions
and it's
made.
easier to
Right.
do.
Yeah.
But I can try to send you an example of something that I've used on other committees
Yeah.
and then see if that seems like something you want to incorporate.
Okay.
It works.
Yeah.
But that said, motion is there to accept the meetings of July 22nd. All in favor? Aye. Yeah. Do you want me to sign these minutes?
Copy, you can sign this one if you want.
Next item is Health Department general updates.
So that kind of brings up the next thing, which was the agenda. Mr. Demaine, I bring it up this morning, or whenever I got your email.
Yeah.
So I will work on putting more lines, more details in our agenda, so they can see exactly what topics kind of go on my.
Right, and I did look back at the older agendas prior to you coming, and, I mean, they always had like old business, new business. During COVID, we always had a COVID update. If there was something that was transferred over, like there was some issues with the transfer station or the landfill or whatever, that were ongoing at the time, then they were listed. But I think, yeah, in organizing the agenda of the topics, it would probably make it easier, because whatever would be ongoing discussion is really the old business. You could do old business and then categorize, like 827 Green Street, the sludge landfill, transfer station, all those things that are kind of ongoing. I mean, I don't think that's too much. It shouldn't be that many things. And then the new business is whatever new business comes in that, well, there was this many inspections or whatever,
Yeah, I'll, we'll break it down a little more,
Yeah.
and we can send that to you, and if, beforehand, and if you have any notes.
Because there is, I mean, I agree, I know we talked about it previously, and
I don't think the day-to-day stuff ever has been put
No.
on the agenda in terms of if you're following up with us on just day-to-day things that you had mentioned to us in the past, and it's kind of administrative stuff. If it's a topic that, it's a new topic, or like you say, a major topic that we've discussed that the board may have to take some action on, certainly it probably should be included, whether it's new or old business, I think,
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
So we'll start moving down the list here. For outreach and prevention, we've had to postpone National Night Out twice now. So Veronica's looking to schedule that for October, possibly in conjunction with a senior center event that will be happening on the same day.
in the city hall.
Probably, yes, probably in the auditorium.
Okay.
So we are working on rescheduling that.
I noticed there is a sign on still that
Oh,
says it was rescheduled
okay.
for August
It was
15th or something.
8th and the 15th.
Yeah.
Now we're into October. For the landfill, should be getting the final plans from CEC for the erosion repairs any day now. I have already started reaching out to contractors who might be interested in giving us a quote. I've had 2 people come out and just take a look at the erosion areas, just so they can get a preliminary idea for whenever we get the actual plans, getting quotes together for that.
And the CEC, that's the
Civil environmental consultants.
is that who we hire out to do that?
Yes.
I mean, with all of it, do they need to come? Do you think they need to present to us, or, I mean, there's,
They might be helpful, so I can talk to them with all the new information.
To get a better idea of what's happening, or
Yeah.
what, and you're still looking for grant funding for that, or?
I'm gonna have to basically just make a request for free cash or something along those lines, because there's definitely no room in the budget for that.
I mean, I don't know, what does everyone else think about having them come and present to us, so we have a better idea of what we're looking at, especially if we have to look for free cash?
You're talking about budgetary concerns or what the issues that,
What the issues are to justify, going and putting a request in for free cash.
As far as
It would be more.
Testing
Yeah.
surface waters and groundwaters and exceedances and all that kind of stuff. That's kind of what I pictured having them come talk to you about.
Sure.
It's something they could do.
okay.
Okay. So I don't have any more updates as far as exceedance on the 1,4-dioxane goes. So that's definitely something that they could hopefully fill us in a little bit more on. I did see that from Dan, I can't pronounce his last name, but
Yeah.
just as far as, I guess, CEC is the one who handles all the notifications and everything for us. It looks like they should have been notifying the emergency spill, or I forget the name of the agency, but they should have been notifying them after they get the results back, and they had not done that up until now, so I'm gonna talk to them and make sure that they're notifying that agency as well whenever we get test results that show an exceedance.
I know, if you wanted to present anything or say
Sure.
anything,
Just a little bit.
state your name, address, and if you try to keep it like 2-3 minutes.
Thank you, Madam Chairwoman. My name is Alan Russo. My address is 211 Betty Spring Road, Gardner. I own property at 500 Notre Dame Road, which abuts the sanitary landfill site. So I did send, Mike and I have been emailing, I've been emailing back and forth on the 1,4 dioxane issue. And first of all, I want to thank you all for discussing this issue. I watched the video for the last meeting. I appreciate the time that Mike and the board and also the fellows at DEP are putting into this. It's a very important issue. I looked at the information that Micah had sent me back in July, and dioxin is a very serious VOC. EPA believes it's a carcinogen.
Unfortunately, it's just emerging with the knowledge about it, which is how things happen, and
Right.
like I said last time, I see all these ads now that I'm maybe I'm more aware of it, but, 1,4 dioxane free, and, but that's how things.
I've got a couple more copies of this. Mike probably has a copy from the initial map. And I can always send this to you electronically, if it's easier to view on the computer. I think what you just talked about is bringing CEC in, which is the engineering support company that helps you monitor this sanitary landfill, is a really good idea. I've studied this area for about 10 years now because of the sludge landfill proposed expansion that's going on right now. Different landfill. But CEC can help you understand that we have a property in Gardner of about 190 acres that has 2 landfills on it. One's the sanitary landfill that's closed that we're talking about here, and right next to it is the sludge landfill that is still open. CEC monitors this thing annually, this solid waste landfill, and I think they probably have a lot of information about the geology and hydrogeology and surface water flows around the landfill. And I think it's important to understand the geography here and the geology, to understand the potential impacts that a leachate leak can have and where things can flow. There's a couple of flows that I've seen in geology reports for the sludge landfill. There's another company that monitors the sludge landfill and reports that information to the Department of Public Works under Dane Arnold. So we get 2 city departments involved with 2 landfills on the same property. One thing about the solid waste landfill is it's called an SIU. All right? It's a significant industrial user of the wastewater treatment plant. It's the only SIU that Gardner has for our wastewater treatment plant. So SIU means that it's considered an industrial. Now, how does that landfill use the wastewater treatment plant? Well, there's a liner underneath the solid waste landfill that collects about 1,200 gallons a day of leachate. 1,200 gallons. And you'll see that documented in our wastewater treatment NIPID's permit. And so what happens is that's collected and it's pumped up West Street and somehow over the other streets, comes down Parker Street, and it ends up at the wastewater treatment plant, which is just near Dugate's poultry farm, just over the line in Templeton. It's processed there, all right, in the wastewater, just like any sewage that comes out of Gardner. And then that sludge is trucked out, the solid material from the treatment is trucked out to the sludge landfill. The sludge landfill has a leachate collection system underneath it. That's pumped almost along the same lines. In fact, it does follow the same line at West Street. Again, back to the wastewater treatment plant. And then the sludge, after that's processed, comes back out to the sludge landfill. So it's very important to kind of know the mechanics of these two landfills and how leachate collection systems underneath them flow to our wastewater plant, are processed. And after you process that material, you get clean water that goes into the river, you get wastewater sludge. Sludge comes back out to the sludge landfill. Now, how does that pertain to 1,4-dioxane? Well, there's something going on there with 1,4-dioxane because it's a solvent, I've read the material that Micah sent me. It's a solvent that's used in many products, including household detergents and things.
Yeah.
So it could be getting flushed down drains. It could be in materials that were dumped in the solid waste landfill many years ago. We just don't know. So my concern, overall, I'll kind of wrap it up because I don't want to take up too much time in the meeting, but my concern is I want to know what the cause of this is. I've got grandchildren who play in these ponds out there, and after reading those reports that Micah said, I'm concerned. Because generally, this dioxane, if it gets in the water, it can move very quickly. Also, when it evaporates from water, it's inhaled. And that I'm concerned about. And it's a carcinogen. I've got grandkids that are anywhere from 2 to 12 years old, and they use those ponds all the time.
Didn't it say something about it's not, if I'm clear, it doesn't get absorbed in the soil, which is why it is able to move along fast in
Moves fast.
the groundwater. It's not absorbed or anything, it just goes in the water and it's that. But again, it's like something we're just learning about. And if people aren't even cognizant, this is one issue, now we know, so we have to do something with that, monitoring it. But, and trying to figure it out and work with, find out more about it. But otherwise, it is, it's an obvious, I had no idea. If you don't have people who are, someone told me, it's like trying to be clean, using clean detergents and soaps and papers and stuff, and I knew nothing about it. Just now you see some of the things that I'm seeing, 1,4-dioxane free, so someone's aware of it in the industry. That's just one industry that uses it.
A lot of chemicals out there that pose hazards, and they're not investigating them before they put it to normal products that we use. That was, But I think my request to the board, I think I stated to my email is, I think you need to do more about this issue. Is my concern with that. I realize that there are regulations that DEP is following, and they're at a certain level to do certain things. Don't notify unless you live 500 feet of a well. Well, there are some wells that are about 1,000, maybe 1,500 feet away along West Street. It doesn't, you're not required to do it, but that pond of mine is 1,200 feet away. It got into my pond 1,200 feet away.
Now,
it could be moving further south.
Your pond is the one right above Russo's property?
Yeah.
Yeah,
I think that's the one.
right here, okay.
Yeah.
This blue
Okay.
right there.
Yeah, you mentioned it could be in the air, but I don't think there's any air monitoring that I know of that goes on. It's only the.
Yeah.
I'm not aware of it either. And I don't, my concern is it's moving in the water. It can move very quickly from what I've read about this thing. It moves through the ground very quickly.
Right,
It
the
doesn't
groundwater.
adhere to soil like other things do. It's like, what through a goose. And
With
so
all these torrential rains and stuff, it's just gonna move everything.
all the water in the system. So my concern in my email was, I think we gotta, I think you gotta look at this more carefully, and I think waiting to monitor it for 3 to 5 years, and because the next test is in next year, it's in the spring of next year. And it could get worse by then, and we don't know where it's coming from. Is it coming, it picked up on this monitoring report in 5 test wells in my pond. They're all between the solid waste landfill and the sludge landfill. They're right down the middle. I can't tell you objectively, based on when I've studied this, which even landfill it's coming from. So my feeling was, maybe it makes sense to hire an LSP. Those are people that professionally do site monitoring and the action sites. in terms of what you need to do. And there's a website the DEP has. If you click on the link in my email, it'll take you to that website that says how do you hire an LSP. So my concern it would be to ask you if you can please try to do something more proactive here, because I'm really very concerned about this thing.
Oh, definitely, I can understand.
Thank you.
Are the kids drinking the pond water, or
They're not.
playing in it?
They're-
It's just
they're little-
understanding exposure. that-
Yeah, you know what I mean, when you're in the water swimming, you know how it is, you get a mouthful of water.
Right,
But
yeah,
they're not,
But that's not like your household supply that you're getting.
no, we're not sitting there drinking cups of
But
it.
even talked about the absorption through the skin and, inhaling absorption in the water, it can dissipate into a vapor and they inhale it. I mean,
Right.
there was absorption through the skin. Obviously, kids, it was in your well water, bathing, and not drinking it, but you still would be exposed.
Right, I just wanted to clarify the exposure
Right.
concern in particular, so.
So, I mean, I think definitely start with maybe having them come present to us and
Okay.
a little bit more detail of where to go with that.
Have you contacted your legislators at all, like your representatives or anything to, I think it's something that maybe, we got to start creating a little bit of buzz about the topic, and probably wouldn't hurt for them maybe to be hearing about it, and, because generally, regulations on these types of things trickle down from state level to the local boards and everything, and I mean, we can certainly do what we can to be proactive, but a larger statewide or even national effort on something like that is probably going to be needed at some point, I think.
I agree, that's a very good point.
That is a good suggestion.
Yeah.
I think I'll follow up on that. And we certainly have a state senator and a state representative.
Oh, yeah, I mean, as far as I know, I used to do a lot with AC, American Cancer Society, Cancer Action Network even, and I'm not sure if they also might have something, if that's one of their topics or whatever. I mean, as things are, research and stuff, as it's revealed and stuff, I mean, it goes so rapidly, but that might be something to look at too. But I definitely think the state rep
And I think you're right, that, this is one chemical we're aware of.
yeah.
Who knows, the way cancer rates have just skyrocketed, and we don't know what's causing it, and, there's so much research on it, but I think that when you look at, from the period we grew up in to now, and I think long-term exposure to a lot of these chemicals is starting to become evident,
And they're silent, because we don't even know that we've been exposed to some of them because we weren't testing for it. Those two reports that, I tried, like almost 300 pages each,
Oh,
so
yeah.
I tried to go through and see, if there was some sort of summary somewhere on those reports to kind of give us an idea, and I gave up, so.
I agree with you, they're very difficult, even the sludge landfill annual report.
Yeah, it's like
And
almost
the question I
300
asked was,
pages.
are they testing for 1,4-dioxane in the sludge landfill? There's 3 test wells from the sludge landfill. Theoretically, it could be leaking from that landfill and not being tested in one of those 3 monitoring wells.
Right.
But I think my feeling is always when you have a problem, you try to find out the source of it, the exact source. Where's this coming from? As fast as you can, so you can start to think about, well, what can I do about that?
Right.
Is it a liner leak from below, or is it erosion leak from up above? You
And
know,
how does that all tie into with the plans that are needing to be done to fix some erosion?
Yeah,
Is it in the
so,
same area, or?
I wish I had a diagram, but the landfill itself has letdown channels that are supposed to divert runoff down these channels to keep it from kind of eroding other areas. And some of them have broken down. The rocks are not in place, the fabric's kind of coming up a little bit. So that may have something to do with it, but it's really hard to tell. It's just, we know it's gotta get fixed. And we don't know where the annexing is coming from, but it could play a role, it could not, we don't really know at this point.
Have we sampled any areas of the runoff from there, or? I don't know.
There are wells, they're mostly on this side of the landfill, because according to the initial reports, that's kind of the direction of the natural groundwater moves. But there are some wells on this side as well.
And they've been clean, or?
Those didn't have any exceedances in those wells, but most of them are on that west side. So I can get those maps for you if you want to take a look at those.
And the erosion repair, is that coming, or that's still something that you're still working on the plans for, right?
CEC is actually coming up with engineered plans. They were supposed to be done last week, and I haven't heard anything, so I was waiting until this meeting to follow up with them and find out where those at, because we're gonna have to go through the whole bidding process for this, which could take a while, and just wanted to get that started as soon as possible, so. And part of the project is also, there's about 3 wells all grouped really close together where the yard waste drop off is, and 2 of those have been damaged, so they're not able to sample those right now. So we're gonna get those wells redug so they can resample those as well. But they're all kind of within about 1.5 feet of each other, so there is one well still being sampled, but they're all at different depths.
So there's 3 at the sludge landfill, you said 3 testing sites, or?
Correct, they're at the perimeter of the sludge landfill.
So would you be able to determine if it's positive for that chemical in one of the 3 wells where the source, like you were saying, the way it's pumped, the leachate is pumped up and then goes back down, so you'd be able to tell it's coming from that versus possibly another source? Or?
Yeah, the 3 ones at the solid waste landfill are just, they're just on the outside of the liner, all right? And if you took a walk out there, I can show you where they are, but they sample those, I think 4 times a year. So the thing would be is the next time you do a sample, bring that out and let's test it for 1,4-dioxane, just so we could, if it's not in those wells, that would tell you something, that maybe it's more of a solid waste landfill. If it's loaded with 1,4-dioxane at very high levels, that'd probably tell you something different. You know, I agree with Mike when he's saying, you know, it might be the erosion issue, but it might not be. We can't guess about something like this. We have to have some test data.
And we don't know what was buried there all these years ago and what's breaking down, so, you know, there's no.
Yeah, is it new stuff coming in, or is it old stuff that's been out there for years? You know, this is the problem with landfills. You know, at some point, they're man-made structures like roads, bridges, and everything else. They start deteriorating, and then you got to pour lots of maintenance into them. When they malfunction, bad things happen. I just think we have to, because it's a carcinogen, I think it's worthy of doing more investigation and testing.
I definitely think we all agree on that. And we've been trying to, when it was first, you know, we've been trying to stay with it, so I appreciate your input. I wouldn't actually mind taking a tour up there myself. I've never been up there except for years ago when there was, I don't know if I went to that concert or not, but
I went to that concert.
my brother was one of the organizers. But anyway, I wouldn't mind taking a tour up there and kind of, you know, because hearing all these things over the last few years, I don't really have a good picture of what's up. So if at any point you want to organize a tour and whoever can go, I would
I think it's, you know, that would make it a little easier for us to visualize.
Yeah, that would be, I mean, it would be good to kind of tie that all together, and that would be a good idea.
Okay.
So, thank you. Okay.
I had one comment on that. gonna cover the costs now for testing. We're gonna have to request extra cash or borrow from other funds that
Mhm.
hopefully have some left, so that's gonna be something we'll have to
Right, and I
address.
think that's where it would be good if we had, if the board itself has a good understanding of everything, if we have to, and you're the one who's gonna have to request the, extra cash and stuff. But at least if we understand where we can support that and, give, added support when you go to present it, to ask for that, why it's important.
Yeah, okay.
May I ask a question?
Sure.
My name's Mary Marsh. I live out on 50 Acadia Road in Gardner. And my question is, Veolia runs the sludge landfill,
Correct.
correct? Would they incur the expense of testing around there as opposed to the city of Gardner?
I'm actually not quite sure. I'd have to get with Dane and kind of see whose areas are whose responsibilities, but,
Because that might take some of the burden off of the testing off of the city if it would be up to them.
sure, yeah, that's a good question.
Good point.
So that kind of segues into two more kind of budgetary things, but I did start working on a quote for a better office facility for the transfer station. I got a preliminary quote of $400 a square foot. And I'm looking at about 320 square feet for an office. So
They need something.
they need something. I found out today that our loader is possibly on its last legs, and we might need to be getting a new loader for the transfer station. So more to come on that.
I mean, there may be some grant funding out there. I was just looking at that. I don't know what topics over there, but maybe there, might
Yeah.
be some grant funding to explore.
Look every
Yeah.
avenue we can look at. On to just kind of the normal departmental updates. New housing and nuisance complaints have slowed down just a little bit. And we currently have 25 cases open for housing and nuisance complaints. For food, Eddie's done 19 regular inspections. He's doing really well with following up with people to make sure anything that was cited on his initial inspection has been fixed or is in the process. So he's done 17 re-inspections and we've had 7 complaints come in.
Nothing substantial.
No foodborne illnesses or anything that really got substantiated. We did just finish the final pre-operation inspection at Jersey Mike's, so they've been issued their food establishment permits. I think they're actually looking to open on Wednesday. Body art, we issued one new body art apprentice piercing permit.
Is that the same one that, who was
So
interested last?
Yes, so he's, right now he's apprenticing in both tattoo and piercing.
And they're keeping a log of all of his work and all the supervision and everything, I'm assuming.
Yeah, I sent him some sample logs, just so they are aware of what counts and what doesn't count, and that way we have it all in writing. It all gets signed off by the trainer, who's the owner of the establishment there. Let's see, down here, we are still at low risk for triple E and West Nile virus, but there have been 2 human West Nile cases and 1 triple E case, the first one in about 3 or 4 years.
I think Youngster had an area that they were
the risk level is creeping towards
Right,
us.
that's the closest, I think.
Yeah, that is the closest one I saw. I sent all of you the links for these. Right now it's called recommended training for Board of Health members. But if you have any questions on that, I definitely let me know. And the last thing I have on here is 827 Green Street. They submitted new plans for a new soil absorption system, which I approved as of today. So they should be working on replacing the old soil absorption system here, hopefully pretty soon. After talking to the engineers and as many people as I could, there was really no official reason for why the system failed. I have kind of a theory as to why, so I made sure that that part of the plan was done appropriately for this round. And yeah, they should be working on that here hopefully very soon.
In the meantime,
They're still tight tanking, and I wasn't able to verify anything along the lines of, the claims that people
No
are
showers
take
and
showers
stuff.
or anything like that.
Okay. So, in lieu of the fact that a new plan, I know we had discussed last meeting about they have 2 years once the failure, unless the board requests an expedited system repair date. But since they already have submitted a new plan, do you feel that we want to ask them to, have an expedited repair time or time frame, or?
Well, I mean, when are they supposed to start construction? Do they
I haven't been able to talk to them yet since I approved a plan, but I will ask
Okay.
them as far as what their timeline is.
All right.
I'm assuming they want to get
I would think
rid
so
of those
too.
bills as quickly as possible,
Right.
so. But I'll find out
Okay.
more definite timeframe. for
Okay.
that.
And then on that property too, just a question I had in my mind about when it came up about the horses and stuff. Their storage of the manure was in a good situation, right? They were back, it was like back from the buffer zone or?
That was Dean and
Right.
Olivia who did that inspection, where they had identified that the manure piles were located was outside of all of the buffer areas. But it seems like they're still doing like agricultural activities in those buffer zones, so I don't know where that falls or who.
And the way, it was confusing to me, but it's still that area and other areas, like the hospital, and they're still in a zone A,
It's
still-
kind of, I can show you a bigger map. I think I did send you a couple of maps that kind of show how a lot of the Gamma property is in a zone A, except for that little bit around the main building. So right now, that's where they have their septic system and manure storage is in that one little area. But I can show you, I can make you a bigger map that kind of shows more of the area if you want to take a look at that.
Okay. Yeah, I know that the issue with the being so close to the water still exists, I guess,
Yeah.
but as long as it's being monitored and closely, and
Yeah.
is
so
there
I
any
can-
complaints or anything that come through?
Yeah.
Anybody comments or anything?
My concern is how
Can you
close,
State your name.
okay, I'm sorry. Paul DeMail, 9 Willis Road. My concern is how close the activities are to the Pearly Brook. And there's a pond at the far side of the racetrack.
Isn't that you mean the horse track?
There is a track.
Yeah, there is a track up there.
Now, and at the far end of it is a pond, is a man-made pond. My concern is, I've been in the woods along the brook, and some members of the facility, they hang out along the brook. And, you know, to me, there should be some sort of a buffer zone, 100, 200 feet away from this water, it is the water supply. There should be a buffer zone in which there's no animals and no human activity. That's my concern. And the other thing that came up at the Conservation Commission meeting was they were moving a manure pile from one area to another area on the property and not taking it off the property, which I think they should do. And where they were moving the pile was in close proximity to another swampy drainage area that also feeds into Pearly Brook. So I'm concerned about where the manure is being stockpiled and how close their activities are to the actual Pearly Brook. You know, I'd like to see, I don't know, a setback set up 100 feet, 200 feet away from the brook, that no activity is occurring.
I'm not sure if we can keep them off their own property. I mean, if they're using it in a way that jeopardizes the wetland, then I think certainly they can be restricted in that sense. But you're saying they're hanging out over there, or what?
Yeah, along the brook with chairs and, yeah.
I mean, I can see keeping the animals out of there because you want to prevent the waste products.
Correct, from leaching.
You would hope that the humans aren't using it as
No, I'm not concerned about the animals and the proximity to the brook because, as was just discussed, it's zone A.
Well, I mean, this might sound like a stupid question, but, I mean, are they even aware of I mean, you would think when they purchased the property and stuff, somebody would have gone over things, but I mean, next time you go out there, I mean, maybe they may not even be aware of how their proximity and what kind of things they should be concerned with.
I can reach out to them.
I mean, I think that would be a start
Yeah.
with making sure they officially do know, you know.
I'm not sure like where that falls jurisdiction.
Well, that's the thing, you know, and I was just thinking, what about if, you know, discussing it with conservation? I know they haven't hired an agent yet, but maybe with
one of
whoever's acting or.
One of the commission members did come over. I did send them everything I had up to that point, but I can definitely reach out again.
Yeah,
and just
I mean, I
make
don't
sure
know if
we're
it
on
would
the
be
same page.
our jurisdiction or theirs, but
Yeah, it's most likely to be their jurisdiction
Yeah.
unless we have reason to believe something's being done there to jeopardize the public health, I
Right,
guess.
because they're the ones that would cover with wetlands and stuff.
And, yeah.
And I'm sure you're attending the meetings and keeping them updated.
Yes, you know what? Don't get me wrong here. I love the program and what's occurring there. I think it's wonderful. You know, the gardenings and the animals and everything, but, you know, with the situation happened with the septic system failing in November 23 and not being reported, I do have a concern about honesty, transparency, and Gardner doing the right thing on that property. But I love the property, and, you know, as was brought up, did they know what they were buying? Well, here again, you know, from a real estate standpoint, buyer beware, what are you buying? Obviously, the septic system with the house was not adequate for, during the day, I understand they have 30-plus people on that property. And they have somewhere around 14, 15 actually living on the property, but then others a bus in during the day for programs and everything. So my concern, Micah, is that that septic system is adequate for the number of people that are using the system.
Yeah, so I took a look at Title V and all the various uses. That problem is just boiling down to how do we verify how many people are using
Right.
the system, how often. So it's something we're gonna have to figure out.
So the new design that's been approved is for what, rated for what capacity at this point?
It's still rated for the same capacity of 990 gallons per day.
Which allows for like roughly how many people?
I have to look that up again as far as which category they use for
Right.
Title V, because if you're a department store, you're gonna have this many gallons per
Right.
day. If you're having residences, it's 110 gallons per day per bedroom. So that's where we need to just make sure they're not exceeding that. But that system is plenty big. I don't know, still, it would be really nice to know why it failed, but
Right.
it
It's
should
only
have
3
been
years
able
old.
to handle that.
Okay. Anything else you have
That's all I got
for
for
new
today.
business or anything? No? Okay. Any other comments from anyone?
No, I really appreciate your work.
Thank you.
This is very important,
Thank you.
and it's gotta be monitored, and I know you do it. I'm very interested in all of this, so that's why I'm here. Just for
Can you
that.
just state your name and residence?
Oh, I'm sorry, that's
Oh,
okay.
just trying to be
You can tell
official.
them I'm related, well,
Yeah.
related to both of them.
Yeah,
Jean DeMayo, my oldest brother.
thank you. Thank you for your input. Okay, set next meeting.
What are you looking at, like
Either
23rd?
the 16th or 23rd. 23rd's good for me.
I can do either one, so.
The 23rd's better for me.
Okay, we'll do the 23rd. Is that good for you, Michael?
Sure.
Okay. And I have a motion to adjourn.
So,
Everyone in favor?
uh,
Aye. The meeting is adjourned. It is 5:25 PM. Thank you.